The 6th GOP debate took place yesterday, and I wanted to give you guys a quick rundown about who I think both won and lost. Overall, however, I don't really think that the candidates did much to differentiate themselves this time, and I thought that 2.5 hours was just too much, because at this point we're not really learning anything new about the candidates. They're regurgitating the same arguments over and over and over again. I mean, at least with the last GOP debate, we got to hear the differences between the imperialist candidates and the non-interventionist candidates. But this time, I mean, it's just the same exact thing over and over again. All of them said basically the same thing. They fearmongered about ISIS and Iran, and they want you to be afraid. All of them want to rebuild our pathetic, fractured military, which it's not pathetic. But nonetheless, they think it's weak, which is an insult, I think, to the troops. So they want to rebuild our weak military. They want to attack ISIS, give tax breaks to the rich, and they all want to face off against Hillary Clinton, and they all hate Hillary Clinton. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's the same thing over and over again. So, I mean, 2.5 hours of this was really insufferable for me, but I nonetheless had to watch it because I wanted to give my breakdown. So, additionally, another reason why this was such a bad debate is because the moderator was horrible. I mean, she literally just made things up. And I think that after this, she should be permanently discredited as a journalist because, I mean, it was just terrible. So, for example, she made up a lie about Bernie Sanders and stated that he wants to tax people at 90%. Really? 90%? He hasn't even proposed a 90% marginal tax rate. So to just brazenly throw out 90%, that's not even incredibly misleading. That's just an outright lie. Now, she also referred to Social Security as an entitlement program. It's not an entitlement program. We pay into that. That's our money, okay? So do you consider you getting your money back an entitlement? I don't. So if somebody borrows money from me and then they pay me back, I don't look at that as an entitlement. It's my money coming back to me. So to see this much lunacy come from the moderator, I mean, you just know the whole thing's going to be a train wreck, and of course that's what it proved to be. So when it comes to the winners and losers, though, nonetheless, I think that the winner absolutely was Donald Trump this time. I think probably Marco Rubio came in a close second. Ted Cruz maybe in third. He's kind of more in the middle. But when it comes to the biggest loser, hands down, once again, it was Ben Carson. I mean, I forgot he was there most of the time. He didn't even show up to the debate. I don't know what he's doing there. He is perhaps the worst debater of all time. He doesn't make his presence known, and he's not doing enough to kind of stand out. So let me kind of go through briefly how I think each of the candidates did. So when it comes to Donald Trump, I thought that he was more energetic than usual. I thought that he did a great job kind of playing up the fact that he's an anti-establishment candidate, talking about how, you know, we have these political hacks, they do these negotiations on our behalf, and they just do a terrible job. Yes, I'm angry, my base is angry, but we have a reason to be angry because the system is broken. I mean, he did a phenomenal job at really playing up his strengths. Now, I also think that he owned Ted Cruz when it comes to the issue of his eligibility, and also he was being kind of condescending, but I think it worked for him, where he kind of patted Ted Cruz on the back when he said, well, I could have chosen you as a vice presidential pick, because we all know that Ted Cruz hasn't really attacked Donald Trump because he's trying to leave open that possibility that he could potentially be the VP for Donald Trump. But I don't know now after this. And also, I thought that it was weird how Cruz tried to defend himself in the midst of this attack. Like, it was great to say, look, John McCain was born abroad, and, you know, there were no questions about his eligibility. But it was odd that he brought up the fact that Donald Trump's mom was born abroad. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Donald Trump was born in the United States. So I thought that Donald Trump just kind of slapped him down with the backhand, because that was just stupid to bring that up. I mean, I don't know what he thought would be the outcome of that. He wasn't getting Donald Trump. I mean, sure, his mom may have been born abroad, but what matters is that Trump is a natural-born citizen. So terrible attack right there. But back to Trump. I really thought that he did a lot of things right. He actually said some things that were reasonable. So he stated that we're actually losing manufacturing jobs to China, and mentioned that we actually have a very large trade deficit. And he's correct right there. We actually do. So I'm glad that he's mentioning these things that nobody talks about. Now, he was absolutely wrong on a number of issues. When it came to Syrian refugees, he stated that most of them are men. That's absolutely false. I don't know where he gets his data from. I don't think he actually gets this data from anywhere. I think he just kind of pulls it out of his butt. But that was absolutely a lie. Now, when it comes to Marco Rubio, I thought that he was also more fired up and energetic, because I think that this to him was his kind of last-ditch effort to really energize his supporters and get them to show up, in Iowa and New Hampshire and whatnot. And I think he did a relatively good job at that. However, the problem with Marco Rubio is that he's always so hyperbolic. So he stated that Obama would take away every gun and repeal the Second Amendment if he could. I mean, you don't have evidence for that. Because he wants gun control, that doesn't mean that he wants to take away your guns. It's just ridiculous. He also said that Obamacare is a certified job killer. Also not true. We've had, I don't know how many months now of straight job growth in the private sector, mind you. So that's a lie. He also said that Obama gutted the military. I mean, these are things that are just so outrageous. They're so hyperbolic that you really can't take Marco Rubio serious, but he says it with a straight face. So you can't help but kind of hate the guy because of his demeanor. But what he got right, I think, was immigration. I mean, he crippled Ted Cruz on immigration and actually got Ted Cruz to concede. Ted Cruz literally said he made about 11 attacks there, so I want to respond, because about half of them are untrue. So he still got 6 attacks on you that are absolutely correct, right? So I thought that was devastating for Ted Cruz right there. But yeah, kudos to Marco Rubio right there. But everywhere else, I thought that he looked too smarmy, too fake, too politician-y. The whole thing was just disingenuous, but I knew what to expect from Marco Rubio, so I'm not surprised. Now, when it comes to Ted Cruz, he had his moments to shine, but I mean, there were just some really embarrassing moments for him. So he was really deceitful, for one. He stated that Obama's going to be giving the Ayatollah of Iran $100 million. Okay, he's not giving them money. He's lifting the sanctions, and through that, they could indirectly get $100 million because now they can, participate in the global economy again when it comes to the U.S. and our European allies and whatnot. So it's just so misleading. Now, furthermore, he also did a terrible job at downplaying his corruption. I mean, he took contributions that he did not report, and he did not do a good job at defending himself. So I don't necessarily think he's going to come out on top of that one either. He also said that Obama looks like an apologist for radical Islamic terrorism. But Ted Cruz, if you call him an Islamic apologist or an apologist for radical Islamic terrorism, he's the worst apologist ever because he's currently bombing them every single day and killing lots and lots of them. So to say that he's an apologist, you're crazy. So when it comes to Kasich, Christie, and Bush, I'm going to lump all these guys together because they did nothing to really stand out. I mean, they didn't hurt themselves by participating in this debate, but they did nothing to improve their standing. So Jeb Bush, probably his second best performance, not enough. Chris Christie, I mean, this guy needs to look at public opinion polls because he constantly touts his anti-marijuana record, and he said that he would enforce the federal law and basically lock people up for smoking weed, but that's incredibly unpopular. And Chris Christie, do you not realize that a majority of millennial Republican voters are actually in favor of legalizing recreational marijuana? I mean, why would you say something that stupid and alienate a really fundamentally important part of your base? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. This guy is insane. Now, when it comes to Kasich, he is probably second to last in my mind in terms of just being such a loser this time. And the reason why I say that is because the policies that he endorses are just insane. So he constantly talked about how great fracking is, but I think he'd probably change his mind if they did fracking in his town and poisoned his water. So, John Kasich, I think you'd be a hypocrite on that issue if it actually directly impacted you. But you don't care because it's the plebeians that get impacted by fracking, and they're the ones who have to drink the dirty, poisoned water, not you. So I think that that's absolutely disgusting, and it's a despicable policy position to have. Now, furthermore, he laughed off the idea that Bernie Sanders would become the Democratic nominee and said that if he is the Democratic nominee, Republicans would win in a landslide. They'd take all 50 states. I absolutely love this. I'm not even mad. I want you guys to keep thinking that because if Bernie Sanders becomes the nominee and every day it looks more and more like that's going to be the case, you guys aren't going to know what's going to hit you. I mean, you're not going to see him coming. You're going to be so crippled by a random Bernie Sanders nomination that you're not going to know how to respond to it. So please continue. Now, furthermore, I like how you're completely deluded because he kicks your guys' asses in hypothetical matchups, but let's not talk about that, right? Let's not look at polls. Let's just throw out these policies that we have no idea who likes it and who doesn't like it. Typical Republican move. Now, when it comes to Ben Carson, he was just a non-entity. I don't have to say anything about him. But I do want to mention the fact that he took fear-mongering to a whole new level. I mean, he literally came up with a hypothetical. Imagine if we have a dirty bomb and this bomb all go off at once. Well, that would be really scary. Yes, we get it. You want us to be afraid. You want us to vote Republican because you guys want to bomb everyone and every single country in the world. But it's just not working. I mean, you're now literally making up hypothetical situations to scare us because you feel as though, what, ISIS and Iran isn't enough? I mean, this guy is ridiculous. The whole party is ridiculous. The whole debate was a train wreck. So, but overall, I don't think anybody was able to stump Trump, and I think that he's going to go in to Iowa and New Hampshire with the odds in his favor, and this debate, which kind of was their last chance to maybe flip it in their favor, not going to happen. But also, Trump is the winner just based on his performance as well. So that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think, who you thought won. I definitely think it was Trump, but tell me your opinion down below in the comment section.